Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphaneme. So, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I've been saying for a long time that the liquidity aspect of XRP is what will make that price explode. Now, the world needs liquidity. The central banks are in trouble. The commercial banks are in trouble, but the commercial banks are in trouble more than the central banks. I've been saying this for a long time, haven't I? I think what we're looking at is an Osirian fracture of the old financial system. And I don't know whether it's just that the powers that run the systems are just that ignorant that they bungled everything. And so it's in the process of collapsing. It really is. They've been doing very badly. We're going to get into details of that. Or if it's a controlled collapsing of the system, they're just allowing it to happen so that they can bring about a new financial system. Of course, that's going to affect the price of everything, because if there's a deep economic impact of war or a certain redacted type of thing happening around the world, you get what I'm saying? Right? A redacted happening around the world, there's a multitude of things that could happen. And you heard other negative catalysts that could have an impact on the value of different assets, right? And fiat currencies around the world. You've heard them talking about that on the news quite often. So you have all this myriad of things going on that can cause a liquidity crisis. Now, there is the illusion. I want to talk about this illusion, okay? The Fed and a lot of institutions around the world, the Fed and a lot of central banks around the world, and commercial banks, have been providing money and just printing money out of nowhere, all right? Now, when they're printing all of this money, they're giving the illusion, in my humble opinion, maybe I'm completely wrong on this. I could be, and people will correct me in the comment section for sure. And I'm always willing to learn. I love learning. But they've been printing money out of nowhere. You know that. I know that. Okay. It's giving the illusion of liquidity. However, a lot of that money is moving into illiquid assets. Now, one of the possible reasons for that happening, I think it would be logical, is that people want to protect their money. They want to protect their money. They understand that, let's say the dollar is doing well now. I don't know what it's doing. It could be, I think it's doing well now, last time I read. But they understand that at any moment, the dollar's value can plunge and they would lose value on the money that they hold. So to protect that asset, they move it into something illiquid like real estate. All right, to protect their money. Of course, they're making money off of that, right? So sort of like what people do when they're staking crypto and getting high annual percentage yields and rewards and such like that, you know, so you're seeing that extra capital coming in off of it, right? So they're protecting it, but it's an illiquid asset. So a lot of that money that they're printing is being taken. Let's take, for example, like how they handed out like stimulus checks and things like that. A lot of people got these things. A lot of people moved them into illiquid assets. So, and also, not only that, they're made illiquid. A lot of that capital is made illiquid by people hoarding the money. So it doesn't matter if it's digital. They have different means, of course, crypto as well, where you can hold it in your cold wallet, or some people are just taking out cash. They have their safes. They have different ways of holding that cash. They're making it illiquid by removing it from the system. And it makes sense because, and I'm hoping I'm conveying this clearly and being eloquent, because I have so many thoughts. I don't know if this is coming out clear, but it makes sense that they're going to do that, in my opinion, because they're afraid. They're afraid, they have fear because they've seen what has happened over the last few years. Not only that, I'll say this about smart money. They see what's on the horizon. They see that there hasn't been a true remedy for the problem, right? So there's still not enough liquidity, true liquidity. Remember, I said there's the illusion. So at any time, any of these worldly factors, catastrophic worldly factors, and it doesn't take a big catastrophe at this point, because the entire financial system is sort of like a house of cards. It's just waving. The slightest breeze is going to knock it down. You have these cyber things going on all over the place. I showed you. With the banking system, it has not been good. And now, let me circle back. It seems that no one's doing anything about this when there are solutions everywhere. See, I like to come up with solutions, and the solutions are apparent. You have an ailing banking system. Okay, congeal with something Put some band-aids on it until you can heal this wound with, let's say, hash graph, blockchain technology, whatever you want to use. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, combination of quantum computing with artificial intelligence, use blockchain. I mean, there's so many different ways. There's even legacy system offerings that they could use to patch up the financial system and help it to thrive a little bit. And let's get a footing on this, right? So the debt, so they haven't patched up those holes. Then on top of that, you have the world debt. I mean, have you looked at the world debt as a whole, not just United States, the world's debt? Do I have that pulled up here? Let me just give me one moment. Bear with me. Did I pull that up here? The world's debt is unbelievable. I don't think I have that here. I had it up earlier. I wish I would have kept it. I have so many tabs on my computer open, but I just opened an interesting one here, but it backs up what I'm saying. So here's an interesting tab, at least. I don't have the world debt, but the world debt is so high. It has gone up exponentially over the years. It has to be repaid at some point, right? I mean, unless you're going to keep rolling that debt over. We're talking about hundreds of trillions of dollars of debt worldwide. Okay? Let me read this little tidbit here. It says, this is from Investopedia.com. It says, at the root of a liquidity crisis, a widespread maturity mismatching among banks and other businesses, and a resulting lack of cash and other liquid assets when they are needed. Liquidity crisis can be triggered by large negative economic shocks or by normal cyclical changes in the economy. Now, we already know about the negative economic shocks, war, redacted things happening. You get what I'm saying? When I do that, redacted things happening. We know that. Normal cyclical changes in the economy. Well, okay, well, let's not, I want to take that, and I don't know why it triggered the thought about monetary policy. Now, in the members only section, I've been posting a lot about monetary policy, the decisions that they're making. And one thing that I've been watching on the decisions that they're making with the monetary policy is, are they making any changes? Now, many brilliant minds around the world have said for years that they need to change something in their monetary policy. The way that they're lending, the way that they're printing money out of nowhere. And so for years, they have changed nothing. They've changed nothing. And not only have they changed nothing, which means that the wound is growing deeper, bigger, and they're bleeding more, the financial system, but they're refusing to right now act on things like CBDCs, right now act on things like blockchain technology, right? They claim they want to help the world. Keep that in mind. They claim they want to help the world, but they're not even moving quickly on things that could actually help the people that are impoverished or the people who just want to live well, or the people who want to make a lot of money. You should be able to live how you want and make as much money as you choose, or live as good as you choose by the sweat of your own brow, correct? But they're not allowing it because since they are in these power positions, they have a lot of sway over what is possible. Unfortunately, they have a lot of sway, but circling back around, they haven't changed anything about their monetary policy. All right. Which means that things are going to continue to worsen, but it can only worsen to a certain degree until there is a economic collapse, a financial collapse. And how does that affect XRP? XRP is the liquidity. XLM is the liquidity, or liquidity provider. I think one of the possible scenarios, I just want to float this, right? It doesn't mean that this is going to happen, and this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think one of the things could happen, and man, we'll see how this year goes. We'll see how this year goes. But I know a lot of people were distressed about it getting pushed back to the settlement of the SEC case getting pushed back to next year. And I told you, it really doesn't make a difference in my opinion, because Ripple already said in their own documents that it's going to take 4 years to set up infrastructure, have everything up and running. And that is the proverbial flip of the switch, correct? Right. Okay. So that's inconsequential to me. But I see another possible outcome, and maybe this doesn't happen. Hopefully it doesn't, because it would take a catastrophe for this scenario to play out. But if there is some type of detrimental event, some type of catastrophic event in the world, and it causes bank runs, it causes a massive liquidity crisis. People are pulling their money out of the banks. This has happened recently over much lesser things. Trust me on this. There are massive catalysts that could possibly happen. And I'm just saying, be careful and be aware. You want to protect your money, right? This is literally about survival. So you want to be careful with your money and protect it at all costs, because your money connected to your family. Is protecting your money is kind of like protecting your family, because they have to eat. You have to pay bills, right? So you want to protect your money. That's why I'm covering this right now. If there's a catastrophic worldwide event, then they will have such a massive liquidity crisis, the likes of which you have never seen. And that will force them to search for a massive liquidity provider. Who's ready to go right now? There's a massive liquidity provider. Massive, we're talking only right now, from what I know, right now, we're talking about XRP on the top end, Algorand on the top end. We're talking about XLM in the mid to low end for retail, right? All of them together. Also, you could possibly utilize them, but XRP, Ripple is ready to go right now. So in the event of something like that happening, I would think that a lot of institutions, commercial banks, central banks, and governments would say, hey, listen, SEC, you have to do something. Take some kind of course. I don't know some type of action. I don't know what you want to do, but we need to use this right now. And they're going to use it because they have to survive. When you put their backs against the wall and say, listen, your business is going to either die or survive, they're going to need to utilize something for liquidity, in my humble opinion. And I'm just taking one tiny little aspect. I know it's complicated and you can look at this in a myriad of different ways. Some of you have other scenarios you're thinking of right now. And I understand that. I'm just taking this little tiny piece. Okay, and trying to convey it as clearly as I can while this is moving through my mind. But okay, so I'm piecing it together. Allow me to just paint this picture in pieces, please. So you have them printing all of this money, giving the illusion of liquidity, giving the illusion that, hey, everything's okay when it's not. But the people are starting to see that because the money, let's say like, what did they do that with the, what do they call that when you're paid? Oh yeah, minimum wage. Okay. So they raised up the minimum wage, but then you have inflation going so high that it's negating those gains, those capital gains, not capital gains. Sorry about that, because that's a whole different terminology, but it is negating the money that you're making off of that minimum wage raise, right? So the inflation is going that high that, I mean, there's so much going on. And not only is the inflation going high, but because of certain world factors, listen, it could actually go a little higher. It could go higher. Why do I say that? Because of other world powers trying to come up with a system that is backed by actual assets, right? They're not just fiat currencies, but backed by something like gold. Other world powers that also have military might to back their currencies, right? If they were to do that, it would devastate the U.S. dollar power. Devastate the U.S. dollar power, which means that wherever the dollar is now, it would fall. And so then there would be even worse economic situation that the people will have to deal with. This is not something that I don't hear being discussed everywhere, though. I don't know why. So Europe is already taking certain measures against that. All right. But they're in a bad position as well. Everything will be affected. Everything will be affected. So the fall of that old system seems to be at hand. Any type of catastrophic catalyst would cause it, could cause it. Protect yourself at all times. XRP would explode. It would explode if they had to use it, were forced to use it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the SEC comes after you, they could easily, a person could easily pay the fine, right? And move on with their lives, right? But Ripple chose not to pay the fine, but to fight the SEC, right? Now, don't get me wrong, that's noble and they're warriors for doing that. However, in order for businesses and institutions to be able to not use a particular asset that could stop the system from falling, wouldn't a good strategy be to tie that particular new asset or particular company up in a lawsuit so nobody can use it? And therefore, it would allow the system to free fall the way that you planned it all along, right? You want the system to fall. So you don't want them to use this crutch just yet. You don't want this new system instituted just yet. You need the entirety of that old system to collapse for it to be at your mercy or to be in a position where you could build on top of it or out of the ashes of it, right? So it brings a whole new light, in my opinion, to the idea within a lot of the XRP army, where XRP is this sort of phoenix rising from the ashes. Think about that for a minute there. I think there's a lot actually to that, although I see it in a different way. But in order to keep all of those powerful institutions that you need them to bleed, you need them to fail in order to keep them from utilizing this crutch and allowing them to fall. And not only will it allow them to fall, but because of their suffering, it will force them not only to accept the new system, they will literally cry out for the new system. It's just like for years, let's say you have a man and you've been feeding this man, right? You've been feeding this man leg of lamb and caviar. He's used to this great food. But now you take that from that man and you starve him for a while. Let him starve for a few days, right? Or weeks. I don't know how long does a person live off of food? I'm just using it as an example, right? So it doesn't have to actually be accurate, but you get where hopefully you'll get what I'm trying to convey. After a while, if you toss that man, even though he didn't even want to eat bread before, he was used to leg of lamb and caviar. You toss him a piece of bread, he's going to eat that bread and be so thankful to you. He's going to accept that bread like it was leg of lamb, like it was caviar. But he was only able to bring himself to that level of acceptance and praisal of what he received, which is just a piece of bread, through his suffering, through his collapse, through his loss of everything. And I think maybe I could be completely wrong. I think maybe that's what we're seeing. They're depriving the system of its caviar, of its leg of lamb, and it will suffer for a while. It will fall down. It will crawl upon the ground, and then they will toss it a piece of bread, XRP, and they will eat it. And that piece of bread will be praised as leg of lamb. That piece of bread will be praised like it was caviar. That will cause the price of XRP to explode. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's a little bit different of a video, but I'm seeing all of these things. It's an Osirian fracture. They're going to break that system into pieces, right? Only for it to be put back together, so to speak, right? For a new system to rise. Horus, Heru, Hercules, Heracles, whatever name you want to call it by. The new system, the new savior system that will be praised because the world will cry out for it. The businesses will cry out for it. The new financial system, Heru. And it will be seen as defeating all the ailments of the old system. The new system will easily tackle it, just like Heru did to Set, right? In the ancient times, the ancient mythology, Heru defeated Set, correct? Or at least, it depends on which mythology you're reading. Of course, some mythologies, they had like a gathering together, and then the group of the higher ones decided who was going to rule over this and that. But Heru was the victor. An Osirian fracture. I don't know. Let's click on some more. You have even Elon Musk here. Elon Musk believes the U.S. government has understated the true magnitude of inflation, right? Let's look at some of the fall of Rome. I was looking at that. Listen, don't think of, I know a lot of people like to extrapolate. Well, United States is the new Rome. Don't think about it as United States. Think of the world as a whole, all the financial systems of the world as the new Rome, okay? All the financial systems, all of the world really as the new Rome. Instead, they want to build something new out of it. They have a plan or something. I don't know what the plan is. But the fall of Rome, here are the things that contributed to the fall of Rome. Just some of the things, right? Decline in values. So people were wasting money on things like lavish parties and superficialities and such like that, you know, buying consumerism and things, at least the high elites and stuff like that. But today I would say it's even more widespread because everybody, like most of the people are wasting money, right? They're wasting money on purchasing things that are nonsensical, superficial, not understanding that the system doesn't have to always continue. Sometimes you should save that money because a few of us live every few lifetimes. A few of us live through the ending of one system and the beginning of a new, which you would need some capital to make it through that, right? Public health was another thing. Public health, political corruption. Uh-oh. We're checking off too many boxes as it is, right? Sounds familiar. Unemployment. Sound familiar? Inflation. Do you see? Urban decay. Inferior technology. Now, as I said, think about it this way. The world has not fully accepted things like blockchain, right? Quantum computing, correct? They even fear artificial intelligence, correct? And maybe they have their reasons. But it says inferior technology is one thing that contributed to the fall of Rome. So the world, which is ailing, is hurt, has band-aids on bullet wounds everywhere. They refuse to adopt something new that could help their systems. Inferior technology. So we're looking at what they're using now as opposed to what they could conscript and use, which is superior technologies. They are not allowing them to be mass adopted. Think about that. Inferior technology, check. Military spending. Maintaining an army to defend the border of the empire from attacks was a constant drain on the government. Military spending left few resources for other vital activities, such as providing public housing and maintaining quality roads and aqueducts. But it's across the board. Wealthy neighborhoods, impoverished neighborhoods, they're not being maintained like they're supposed to be. They're not. I've seen some things, all right? So I think that's the last thing that they had there, military spending. All of those things check off when it comes to the world. When it comes to the world. Protect yourself at all times. It's just like a fight. Fight. Protect yourself at all times. Keep your chin tucked, keep your hands up, right? Keep your head in motion. Protect yourself at all times. Protect your money. Know what's going on with monetary policy so you're not caught off guard. You have to do your own research, even if it's one day out of the week. Make calls to these people in your government, your congressmen, your senators. Maybe nothing happens, but at least you tried. At least you fought. You did something. And if that doesn't work, maybe we can find another way. But we have to do something. Take action. Do your own research. Keep your ears open for catalysts. Know what's going on with monetary policy. Know what's going on with things that can make deep economic impacts in the world, in whatever country you live in. I know we're all from a lot of different places. And protect yourself at all times. So I just wanted to bring that to you. I have so many more tabs open, but I don't want to keep you too long. It is Sunday. I know a lot of people are resting today and they're taking it easy today. Here's another article off of FT.com. It says liquidity threat looming over markets in 2022. Isn't that what I was just talking about? Liquidity threat looming. A higher debt burden in the financial system has institutionalized instability. That's what I was just trying to convey. They summed it up perfectly in one sentence. They have institutionalized instability. It is an illusion what they have done. It's an illusion, and they're refusing to repair it. Protect yourself at all times. So yes, for the liquidity tokens, if they were forced to be used because of things like this, if they're forced to be conscripted for, look, as this continues on, it only ensures the fact that the liquidity providers are going to explode because they're going to be needed. They are the only ones who built a solution, and they've built it for so long that they're the only ones that have a functioning system, while the legacy system is grasping at straws trying to figure out how they did it. This is why you have the banks, the central banks saying now, hey, listen, we're going to have to work with the NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions, work with the fintechs, because they want to survive. They want to survive. Ripple's a liquidity provider. XLM can be utilized to provide liquidity for otherwise illiquid assets. Let that sink in for a minute. Let that sink in for a minute. Some of us hold a few of the only solutions on earth right now. Who knows if more will pop up? I don't know. I don't know the future, but I just know what I see. XRP is liquidity. Algorand is liquidity. XLM can be used for liquidity. No guarantees. No guarantees. But if they're having a liquidity crisis, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You see, what they provided is an illusion. But see, what Ripple provides in liquidity is not an illusion. It's very real. What Algorand provides in liquidity is very real. And in the world of fiat currencies, agreed upon value is true value. I mean, nothing really has value, real truth be told, unless it actually is agreed upon. I mean, it doesn't matter how rare something is. We could all agree that it's worthless, right? Worthless rocks out of the ground. It takes us all together to agree that, hey, because it's rare, it has value. That's still an agreed upon value. It's all mental. It's all mental gymnastics is all it is. But they will need a liquidity cushion. So, I'm just going to leave it at that. Now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.